This episode of Chiedza CheAfrica is proudly sponsored by Tank Pro. Tank Pro under Elite Tank Limited is your premier business consultancy, transforming vision into excellence for students and businesses worldwide. Offering professional short courses, website development, digital marketing, project management, bookkeeping, business support, and HR solutions. They are here to elevate your success. Dial +44 73 916 37370, or you can WhatsApp or visit www.tankpro.co.uk to learn more and take the next step towards your goals. Stay tuned in for more inspiring content. Welcome to Chiedza CheAfrica podcast. On today's episode, I'm honored to be joined by Rumbidzai, a maintenance engineer, author with a passion for storytelling, and daughter to the King of Kings. With a degree in aviation and engineering, Rumbi's fascination with machines takes to new heights. When not keeping equipment humming, Rumbi loves to get lost in a good book, listen to music, or just enjoy some Phineas and Ferb. Join Rumbi as she shares her journey in maintenance and shows young listeners that with curiosity and determination, the sky truly is the limit. Enjoy this episode of Chiedza CheAfrica podcast. Hi, Ruby. Welcome to Chiedza CheAfrica podcast. How are you today?
I am doing fabulously well, and I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. I'm so happy to have you on, and I just love your story, and I know the other parts I don't know, and I can't wait to hear the other parts.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll do my best to narrate and tell as much as I can. I'm notoriously horrible at talking about myself, but I'll really try.
Awesome. So, Rumbi, can you share a snapshot of your journey moving all the way from Zimbabwe to Australia, becoming an asset health developer, which was a first for me to hear. So I'm so excited to learn more about that. And you're also a private pilot, and you're also a drone pilot. Just a quick summary into all that, please.
So I moved to Australia when I started university, so just after high school, and it was an interesting time in my country back then, and a lot of people were migrating abroad for the education and for greener pastures, and I just so happened to be one of those people. My mom at the time really wanted us to come to Australia. So, in terms of deciding which country to go to, it was really decided by my mom, if I'm being honest. So, that's how I found myself in Australia just after high school. And when I moved to Australia, I had a dream to become a pilot. And so I started my university degree at a university called Griffith University in Brisbane, and I was doing the aviation program. But as life would have it, I ended up moving to Perth, Australia, still doing the aviation program, but that was mainly because my mom really wanted all her kids to be in one place because I think in her mind she was thinking, oh, if I've got to visit them, I don't want to be going to 10 different cities. And so, my brother at the time was moving to start university in Perth. And so my mom was like, you know what, it'll be a great idea for you to be in Perth as well, so that you're all in the same place. So I found myself at a university called Edith Cowan University here in Perth, Australia. And I was studying the Bachelor of Aviation. And so with that, I I did the flying as well. And I remember one of my lecturers at the time was like, oh, if you really want to know how to handle an aircraft, I'd really encourage you to do the aerobatics rating. So, so I found myself doing the aerobatics rating, but I was not particularly good at it because like after a number of lessons, my instructor at the time was like, he sat me down in the office and he was like, I don't know how to say this to you, but you're not an aerobatics pilot. I was like, oh gosh. Yeah, so I was like, you know what, before this man says to me, you're not a pilot, let me move this school, let me go to another school, let me go back to my old school. So I did my private pilot's license with an aerobatics rating, did my completed my Bachelor of Aviation, and at the time, my university had started a program where if you'd been doing an undergraduate degree that is science-based, you can then go on to do a graduate diploma and then a 2-year master's program. So in total, you have done 3 years, and that would be considered as an equivalent of having done a 4-year engineering degree. So after I finished my aviation degree, I then did a 1-year graduate diploma in engineering science, and then a 2 years master's degree in engineering, focused on mechanical engineering. So that was basically my journey from, migrating from being in Zim and then migrating to Australia, and how I found myself being an engineer.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, I love
Thank
the
you.
aerobatic bit, you know. As much as you didn't pursue it, the fact that you got to taste what it's like, I think when you attend air shows and you see some stuff, you're like, that's that, that's this, that's that, you know. This is just being
Yeah.
a private pilot.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was such an amazing experience. But I think from my story, there really is something to be said about instructors who are teaching children to fly, right? I think it's important to not only know your student, right, but also try and be interested in what's happening in their lives, if that makes sense. So at the
Yes.
time, what my aerobatics instructor didn't realize was that I was a student, right, a university student, but at the same time, because of the circumstances back in Zimbabwe, I was also a fee-paying student. So that meant that I
Yes.
actually had to work um, to pay
On the
part of my
side.
school fees, right? And so most of the time when I would go to training, right, I would have been
Yes.
coming from night
A
shift.
shift.
Yeah, so I'm coming from night shift. I drive all the way to the airport and then I do my lessons. So that's why I wasn't getting it that quickly. And the
Yes.
and so the reason why I bring this up is that after I moved to another flying school, right? And I was doing my lessons, I was still keeping sort of a similar routine. But then
Yes.
the second instructor there, like, was, really tried to prod more into, why am I not getting it as quickly? And so, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. It's like, you're coming from night shift and you came to train how to fly? I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I do all the time. I was like, no, 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 you can't do that. You really have to make sure that you're rested and, you're present when you're training how to fly. So I think, yeah, there is something for flight instructors to pick from my story, in that, what, if a student is struggling and they're not really getting it that quickly, maybe there is something to prod into more about, their circumstances around their life and what's happening.
Yeah, wow. And it's interesting. We'll touch that further, but you know how it is when you're a foreign student, you're like an international student, fee paying, you've got to study, you've got to work, you've got to balance. You're not going to be perfect at all that. And Ruby, growing up in Zimbabwe, what sparked your love for aviation and engineering? You know, are you a first generation engineer in your family, or your brothers? Are they engineers? What made you choose aviation and engineering?
So actually, interesting story. And I think it speaks really to the importance of representation. I My father is in the sort of technical space. He was a surveyor by training and by profession. He's not working as a surveyor anymore, but yeah, that's what he trained in. So he was really very good at mathematics and the sciences and stuff like that. And so, he sort of encouraged me. But then even before he started encouraging me into the math, science, and stuff like that, I remember I was really, really young, maybe 6 years old or 7 years. I was really, really young. I remember sitting in my living room, and on the television, an advert would always come up, and it was an advert for Air Zimbabwe. And on that
Uh-huh.
advert, and on that advert, there was a guy who was wearing earmuffs, and he had like orange wands, and he was doing this. I don't know, he was making signs to the airplane, right? Telling it where to go. And I was like, what? This is so exciting. I want to be that guy. And so that's that's
Mhm.
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the guy with the wands. And so and so, excitedly, I was telling my dad that, oh, now I know what I want to do. And so,
Mhm.
he was listening, very interested. And I was like, I want to be a flight instructor. Because in my mind, the guy with the wand, he's telling the pilot what to do. He's a flight instructor. But then from my dad's perspective, he didn't know about the guy with the wands. He's like, all right,
Uh-huh.
if you want to be a flight instructor, you have to learn how to fly first so that you can tell the pilot what to do.
Oh.
And so I was like, that makes sense. So I'm going to be a pilot then. So that's how that happened.
Ah.
I look back now and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, but yeah, that's how that happened.
Oh, wow, that's a unique story. Very interesting.
Wild, yeah,
The little
yeah.
girl, she's like,
Just wanted
wow.
to be the guy with the wand. Yeah, yeah.
And
I
she had to
remember.
go all this way to get to that. Oh. And now your current role is in asset health development.
Yeah.
What do you do and how did you get into this role? When you told me your new role, asset health, I was like, there's Rumbi again, a new term for me to learn
New
about.
term. Oh gosh. My
Mhm.
my my life has been very interesting. And as I have been going through life, right, it doesn't usually make sense. But then I
Mhm.
remember somebody saying that life is lived in the present, right, and in the future,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it's understood backwards. And most of the
Hmm.
time, when you think about it, retrospect is always 2020. So I don't even know where to start. But before I go on a tangent, do you just want to know about my current role now or how I migrated and
How
ended
you
up
got
there?
there? Because now, okay, because so far in your story, you've finished uni, and you've got your aviation, you've got mechanical engineering. How do you now enter the job space in Australia, all the way to where we are now?
Here we are. Okay, so when I was actually in university, I remember recognizing and realizing a number of things. One was that there were some units that I seemed to be very interested in. And one of them was principles of industrial maintenance. I still remember it to this day. And I remember in principles of industrial maintenance, there was a guest speaker that came to speak to us, and he was saying that um, using thermography, you can be able to identify that a machine is about to fail and then schedule for it to be maintained. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing I'd ever heard. I said,
Mm-hmm.
you mean that I can predict when a machine's going to fail? And that just, for some reason, piqued my interest. So I was really interested in maintenance. And the second thing that was apparent was at the time I couldn't go back to my home. Well, not I couldn't. I chose to not go back to my home country to pursue aviation because at the time I think if I remember correctly, even Air Zimbabwe was sort of uh, on the rocks. The future was a little
Mm-hmm.
bit uncertain at the time, and so when I was thinking about it, I didn't think that there would be many opportunities for me back home. And so here in Australia, they have got something that is called like a skill, critical skills list. And at the time,
Okay.
it changes every year, but at the time, pilot was not one of those careers that was on the skills list, and engineering was. And so I was like, okay, you know what? That's all right. We just make a detour. We'll pursue engineering, finish engineering, work as an engineer for a couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
then get my papers, and then afterwards I can always go back to aviation, right? I've got my PPL now. Should be all right. Should be all right.
Yep.
So, so I started looking for work in the engineering sector. And so I was one of those people that I was a little bit slow in entering the workplace. I don't know where we got the idea that somehow things are so much more easier abroad that, as soon as like you just need to apply once and you got the job. For me, that was not the story. I actually spent a couple of years looking for my first job in engineering. And so eventually I did manage to get a job, and I got my first job was in pipeline. So we're doing risk assessment, safety management studies in the pipeline space. And that was okay. But at the back of my mind, I really, really wanted to work for a particular company, which is the company that I'm working for now. And so I started applying for roles in the company. And at the time, I wasn't specifically looking for work in maintenance. I was just looking for any role in the company. My
Mm-hmm.
thinking was, once I get my foot in the door, because it's such a big company, I can pivot and find my way.
Make my way.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
make my way. And so I kid you not, like if I remotely qualified for a role, I was putting in my application. I often laugh and
Wow.
say, "Oh, I'm pretty sure the people from HR knew me at some point because they were like, oh, we've released a job." And then we've got 10, I don't know how many applicants. Like, oh, Jane's applied again. Ah, yeah, Jane's applied again. So I applied, I applied. And finally, there was a superintendent because we've got I don't know the roles that we have, like we've got a supervisor, superintendent, manager. So there's something called a superintendent that's in between supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
manager. And so this
Okay.
superintendent saw my application, interviewed me, and for some reason he thought I was going to be a good fit. And guess what? First role I got in my company, in the mining, yeah, in my company, this.
What manager?
No,
Project.
no, no, manager. Well, my first job
Okay.
was as a my first job was as a supervisor for condition monitoring, and
So
that was
that's
in
manager.
maintenance.
So I'm correct. It's a bit of managing. You're
Well,
supervising.
yes, yes, I
So it
guess a bit
depends
of
where you are in the
managing.
world. Because
Oh, yeah,
supervising, this
true,
side
true.
manager. I got it
Manager.
right.
Yeah, so yeah, close. So I was a supervisor for condition monitoring, which was in maintenance, which was great, right? That demography that I had been so amazed by at school when I
Yes.
was still in university is part of what we would be doing in that team, which was like amazing. I was like over the moon.
Wow.
Small hurdle was I'd never worked in mining before, and I was
Uh,
going in my first job fresh. supervising people who had so much experience. I was in
Uh-huh.
over my head, but I was optimistic. I was like, we'll figure it out. The foot is in the door
Yeah,
now. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
that's
So,
true.
so,
That's true.
so I went
Wow.
in and I started working as a supervisor. The team that I had was absolutely amazing. Temperament wise, being an introvert and somebody who's a little bit shy, I
Mm-hmm.
really had to, get away, not get away, really had to get out of my own way and just really, tell myself that, no, girl, you can do this. It's going to be all right. So I did that role for a few months. But you know what I said about pivoting? So I
Uh-huh.
was like, you know what? I think I need to learn a little bit more about the maintenance side, but in a role that doesn't have any supervision, because I feel like I still need to grow and learn about the industry. So I pivoted, and that's when I pivoted into a role for reliability. So that was my reliability engineering role. And in that reliability position, initially I was working in infrastructure. So that's like all of the buildings, vehicles, mobile equipment and stuff like that. So that's where I started. And I remember we had a team day with my superintendent at the time, and we were just asked to talk about ourselves. Please let me know if I'm if I'm being
No,
long-winded and I
no,
can
no, no,
just
no.
kind of
Please,
talk.
I'm enjoying. No, 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 no. Please. Today we want to
Okay.
learn as much as we can. So we're learning about reliability engineering all the way, please.
Okay, no worries. So my superintendent at the time was like, okay, let's have a team day. And so we were supposed to like put together like a slide and talk about ourselves and stuff like that. And I didn't know people were putting together slides. So true to fashion, I found this out the day of the thing. And like when we were sitting, like waiting for the superintendent to come in, I can see people have got like beautiful slides and stuff like that. I was like, oh my gosh. So I like quickly put something together,
Uh-huh.
and so when the time came, I presented my little slide and I talked about the things that I was passionate about and the things that I'd learned in my previous role and stuff like that. And I bring this up because I feel that it's important for us to take advantage of the opportunities that we're given to speak and to speak about ourselves, right? At the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
time, I just thought that, this is just a work thing. We're just talking about random things. And I just put in the things that I was passionate about. But this actually came in very helpful for me a couple of months later when the department got restructured. And so people were now split into other departments. Some people were let go. And I didn't know at the time, but my superintendent had remembered that, Jane mentioned that, well, I use Jane at work, by the
Wow.
way. Jane had mentioned that she was passionate about maintenance. She had mentioned that, she worked in condition monitoring. And so he wasn't being moved to become a superintendent in fixed plant. And he needed somebody who had that condition monitoring
Background.
background and knowledge, right?
Wow.
If I hadn't talked about it, he probably, it would have been a missed
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And so then I found myself in fixed plant reliability, which was such a good time, such a great place to learn because like in
Mm-hmm.
fixed plant, like it's the bottleneck, like things are very serious. Like if a machine breaks down, you're counting every hour because the company is losing money every time the
Yes.
machine's not running. In mining, most of the time, the machine works 24/7. It never stops.
Wow.
The only time it stops is when there is scheduled maintenance, which happens after 16 weeks sometimes. So, as a reliability engineer, you really want to ensure that the machines are working and they're working well until a time when we say, this is a scheduled slot for maintenance. Because every time that it breaks down outside of those windows is time that the company is losing money.
When you listen.
And so,
Wow.
and so that's how I found myself in reliability. So after my my time in fixed plant reliability, which was awesome, enjoyed it, learned a lot, had a lot of things break down, which was very stressful. I don't want to lie.
Can imagine.
Yeah, it was stressful. I enjoyed my time there. I then moved on to do a role as a principal in capability development. And this was also still under the maintenance umbrella. And the reason why I did this role was because I desperately needed people skills. And I knew that like to get ahead, you might be excellent at what you do, but if you can't communicate it, sometimes you'll be passed up on opportunities that you could have been perfect for. And so I really needed to have those people skills. And so I ended up in the reliability team and in the capability team. And in capability, we were focused more on, okay, we've got great maintenance plans, we know what we're doing, but what about the people element of performance, of performance of department, of performance of machines, right? Even if you've got a great maintenance plan, right? Do the people who are maintaining the machine understand the maintenance plan? Are they skilled enough to execute it? Do they know what they need to do? If they need information, do they know where to find it? And also looking at department metrics, right? And identifying that, oh, right, you're doing great in all of these areas, but there's this one area that we can really hone in on and focus on and upskill our people so that, we overly do well. And so that's the role that I moved to. And I absolutely loved it. It was great. Got to spend time with people from HR because most of the people who worked in capability had an HR background. And yeah, and I remember the first time, like one of my first meetings in the team, yeah, everybody was very chatty, very happy. I was like, what is happening? Because I was so used to meetings that were like just straight to the point, very structured, there is no chit chat happening anywhere, right?
Yes.
But the capability people, no, we have to talk about like what happened during the weekend, like what are we doing? Like so there was that really trying to get understand the or relate with the human person, right? Rather than just being very structured, very rigid. But yeah, so those are some of the skills that I learned. So even now in my current role, my boss often says that, oh, I've got really good people skills because I took some of that with me. That sometimes it's important to, okay, it's great to do work, but most of the time it's more enjoyable to do work with people you like. And for you to get to a place where, you're doing work with people you like, you have to know about them, be interested in what's happening in their lives. Oh, you bought a new dog. Oh, wow. What kind of dog is it, right? Just knowing people makes it easier to work with them. And so did capability, had fun, enjoyed it, then moved to asset health developer, which I'm doing now. So asset health development.
It's a very new one. I had to go on Google, but I was like, nah, I'll wait to hear from the asset health.
So that's about it. So asset health development. So what we do is most of the time, machines nowadays have got sensors. So those sensors are consistently collecting data. So say, for instance, a gearbox, as an example, or a whole truck, as an example, we'll have a temperature sensor, we'll have a vibration sensor, we'll have a pressure sensor, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
always, the best way to explain is that every machine sings a song. So we're in in condition monitoring, you've got people who physically go to the machine, get vibration data, upload it into their machine, and then analyze it, right? The
Mm-hmm.
In asset health development, because we've got sensors on the machine is sending us all
Cindy.
this information, all these
Wow.
signals, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
the machine is singing a song, right? So normally when the machine is happy, you can see on the data the pattern of the signal, right? What it looks like. But then
Mm-hmm.
when there's something wrong with the machine starts singing a different song. So the pattern becomes different, right?
Okay.
So normally what we do is that, okay, we say we don't want people to keep going to get information from the sensors. What we're going to do is we're going to create a we call them policies, a model. We're going to create a model that collects data from the temperature sensor, from the pressure sensor. And then I know that on normal operation, when this machine is happy, this is what the signal is looking like. But at this time, when something happened, if there was a breakdown, the machine wasn't happy, I can see what the pattern was looking like at that point. Okay, I have an idea of what the machine looks like when it's not happy. Then you go on another time frame when something wrong was happening. You compare the two. Oh, okay, so when the machine is not happy, this is the pattern that we should see. So in my model, I'm going to program to say, look for this pattern. If
Mm-hmm.
this pattern is now starting to appear, alert the maintenance people so that they can have a look at the machine before it actually breaks down. So in
Wow.
that role, there's a little bit now of programming, because you have to, yeah, program the model, yeah, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
do that sort of that. So
Wow.
that's
So
what
you're
after
like
that.
a doctor. You're a GP.
A GP for machines, yes. A GP for machines, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly right.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I had never heard of it. Do you know that? I didn't know there was a job like that.
Well, I think even I didn't know there was a job like that until I got into the job. And I
I
think
had
that's
no
that's
idea.
that's usually the story for me. I usually find out about the
When
job
you're
when
in
I'm
it.
in it. When I'm in it,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I remember when you told me you're doing reliability engineering as well. That was the first
yeah.
time I heard of that, and I researched, and I was like, "Wow,
Ah,
this now this." I'm actually after this, I'm going to keep researching and read more, and I'm sure there's really more about it. And now it
yeah.
seems so rosy. It's as if your path has just been straight. Yeah, you did pivots and all this, but were there any challenges you faced? And how did your upbringing as a young girl back in Zimbabwe kind of help you out when you faced challenges? Because you left Zim when you were very young, actually. You were just a teenager, then you
Yeah.
moved to Australia. You go through all this, like you said, you finished uni, you didn't get your first job until after a couple of years. There must have been challenges along the way. How did that childhood of yours keep you afloat, keep you going? Did you have role models, mentors, somewhere to punch up when you had those sad days and all?
That's a really good question, hey. I think there is something to there is something to say when the mind knows that it doesn't have a choice. I think for me, that's part of what enabled me to get through the whole process, right? Like
Mhm.
I think I read somewhere about a captain that like burned the boats is it where.
Okay.
So they got to a new island, right? And they were trying to figure things out, and they really needed to make it in that island. And so to ensure that the crew was sufficiently motivated, the captain burned the boat, so no one was going
Wow.
anywhere. So in my mind, I think I really needed to burn the boats, knowing that okay, this is the path that I have chosen, and I really
Mm-hmm.
need to do everything that I can to ensure that I get a good outcome. So I think that that's one thing, just knowing what I wanted, knowing what I wanted, and even though the path was not straight, the path was not easy, knowing that I didn't have a choice to turn back. That failure was not an option.
An
I,
option.
I had to
Mm-hmm.
I had to get through it. And I think as well, like my parents really encouraged me throughout the whole process. With times where, it seems like, my goodness, I'm not getting it, or I've failed a unit. My parents were just very encouraging. And then I think there is something as well about seeing other people who are going through the same journey. I think that's really, really important for
Okay.
young
Mm-hmm.
people out there. You know, getting into a group of friends who are going through the same journey or who have the same vision. On the
Mm-hmm.
times that you really feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna give up, this is too much, and they can encourage you and say, hang on a minute, we still got a vision, or they can, help you get up and get back on your feet. So those are the three things I think that really helped me out. Having people on the same journey who encouraged me, my
Mm-hmm.
parents, and then, just that knowing that I don't have any other choice. I have to get through it.
Wow. I'll take that with me. Just burn the both.
Burn
We're
the
on this
boats.
island.
Yeah, just burn them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Ruby, you've been a great part of like outreach projects we've done in Africa. I remember you came to Kenya, you joined us, you came to Rwanda, all the way from Australia, and always, always appreciative. And yeah, so can you share maybe a story of how those outreach, aviation and STEM outreach projects have impacted your life, meeting younger Rumbis in Africa?
Ah, um, that's a really good question. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
meeting people, like younger people who are aspiring to go on the same journey, or who are just still trying to figure out what they want to do, was really inspiring for me personally. Um, I see, how really, really important it is for there to be representation in the community, for there to be people who are willing to share their stories and their journeys, because you never know who's going to get helped by your story. I often, like as I mentioned earlier, I'm quite horrible at talking about myself, but um, I feel like it's important for us to do so, despite our feelings about it, because it really can help somebody and prevent them from going on a path in the wrong way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And on a personal level, I feel like those outreaches probably help me more than they help the kids, to be quite honest, because I have met some really, really amazing people that are doing amazing things, and seeing them do amazing things with their lives also sort of inspired me to try and do amazing things with mine. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, on a personal level, it also made me realize that it is possible to achieve and attain all the great and marvelous things that we want to attain. Um, and I was actually thinking about this earlier on today that, people often say that you shouldn't meet your heroes. But actually, I thoroughly disagree. I think you should meet your heroes because there is sometimes this idea that the people that have made it because of luck or because of talent. But sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's not even the case. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
because they have worked really, really, really hard
Really
to
hard. Mm-hmm. That's
to get to
true. To
where
get there.
to get there. So knowing that and understanding that, uh, it's not always talent. Sometimes it's just really hard work enables others to know that, hang on a minute, I might not be great at this at the moment, but if I
Yes, yes,
also
yes.
work really, really hard, I can also be great at it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think those are some of the things that I've personally taken away. And I hope that, the students that I have met and that I've been able to tell a little bit about, engineering and
Mm-hmm.
me and what I do have taken something out of it, even if they don't end up being engineers, but then
Yeah.
just that idea that it is possible. It is possible to be
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And them actually seeing you, I remember in the classrooms, them seeing a girl also from Africa who's doing this, that on its own, because like you said, representation matters a whole deal, the role models
Mm,
and all, then they can see, oh, I can be anything, So
mm,
that's
yeah.
also very important. Yeah. And in terms of innovation and the future, drones, do you guys use drones at the mines, at work and all? And how do you see them shaping the future in terms of surveillance, in terms of technology as well?
Uh, yeah, we do use drones. And over the last couple of years, I think they have become more and more popular in some of the areas like inspections. There are some areas that are quite difficult to reach or that are dangerous for humans to be in, but humans go in anyway because, inspections need to be done on machines.
Mm-hmm.
But that has been now sometimes replaced by drones going in with their cameras, and you can see, what's happening in a crusher or is places like that, or in places like that. And even sometimes where previously you would have had to build scaffolding um, to inspect high places. Sometimes you can
Yes.
just send a drone up there and take a couple of pictures to see the extent of the damage. So there have been areas where drones have really helped in removing people from the line of fire. And even I know that in the pit, they also have sometimes drones to go in and double check that all of the explosives have gone
Mm-hmm.
off when they're doing blasts in the pit. So yeah, drones have really helped, I think, in the mining sector. Where I see drones in the future, to be quite honest, with the way things are rapidly moving in the
Mm.
tech space, who knows, hey? But I anticipate that, they will do more where humans could have been in danger in going into places. They could do more in replacing that and being the ones that are sent into those hard to reach places or dangerous areas. And I think even in the delivery space, I've heard of some people saying that, drones can deliver takeaway, or people are thinking
Mm-hmm.
of using them to deliver takeaway. So I think even in everyday life, there will be a lot of instances where this kind of tech is going to be utilized. And I think not only drones, right, but technology in every space is really taking over. I remember when I started my current role that I'm doing now, really struggling with programming, right? But now we've got AI. And I am not even, I have no shame in my game. I will be
No
there
shame.
with my code saying, hey, can you check this code for me to make
So,
sure that it makes sense?
wow.
So I think, yeah,
Wow.
in every area, um,
Hmm.
tech is great, is taking over. Yeah, and I think drones are going to be, yeah, more incorporated in everyday life in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like if you are able to use tech the right way, I think no shame in it. Because like you are check my code, it's like check my grammar for this essay. How is it?
Mm.
What does it sound like? And all, and that's it's just incredible. The tools out there, like I was like, wow. Because you actually have someone to brainstorm with now, who's on the other end. Like,
It's amazing, and it's really amazing how much like it has supercharged my productivity. Hey, because where before
mhm.
you're trying to you're spending half an hour trying to find a comma where you've dropped the comma, you
Yeah,
just put it in there, and it's like, oh, you've left a comma
uh,
here, you know. So it's really
exactly.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really something I always encourage young people to, play around with it. Go on ChatGPT, or I see even on WhatsApp there's AI. Play
Oh
around,
yeah.
get to know it, and use it for your good. Especially now,
Oh yeah.
so many good things are out there. And now my next question is, out of all this, I know you wrote a book. What was the
Yes, I did.
inspiration behind that one? And
Oh
yeah,
God.
when did you write the book? Which phase of your life were you at? And what's the title of the book? And where can we find it?
Oh wow. Oh wow. I didn't know we were gonna talk
I,
about the book, but
I love that. I love the fact that when you wrote the book, I was like, what? Look at that. Like it,
yeah,
it
yeah.
inspires me because it's so easy to be so into our jobs, our roles, academic, and we have nothing
Hmm.
outside. So that on its own is good because it shows that other side of you that's not just work, 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 work. And we all need that balance.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So the book happened. Hey, the book happened. So I happen to be daughter of the Most High God, unashamedly so. And
Oh.
there was just a season of my life where I was really into the book of Esther. And I felt like it just really spoke to me, and I got so many lessons from it. And so
Hmm.
that book is inspired by the book of Esther and all of the lessons that we learn from the book of Esther. And I think the one of the main points that I wanted to really holding on and to buttress on in the book was the importance of a prayer life, right? And that it's also important for us to be surrounded by people who are what we call watchmen, who will be able to see danger coming and warn you in advance to say, hey, I really feel like, you need to focus on this area or you need to do this because danger is coming. And that's what we see between uh, Mordecai and Esther. That even though Esther was in a place in her life where everything was seemingly going well, she was insulated from some of her blind spots. But there was somebody in her life who could really tell her that, yeah, hang on a minute, I think you really need to wake up and focus on this. And I think that's the same with everyday people, right? Sometimes you get to a
Hmm.
point where everything seems to be going okay, or you're just blind to your blind spots, and you need people who keep you accountable and people who will help you and enable you to go back on the right path. And so that was basically the heart behind the book. And yeah, just lessons from the book of Esther.
Wow, I love that. I really, really love that. Amazing. Ruby, thank you so much for taking time. You're one of my dear friends, and I appreciate you so much. I've known Rumbi since 2007, when we sat in the same class.
You are showing our age now. You are showing our age.
I won't say where. Maybe we were in uni together, or we were, I don't know.
No, not uni now. Not uni. In school. Let's
That would
just
make
say
it
in
worse.
school.
In
Yeah,
school.
let's just say in school.
Yes.
Nobody will know if it was primary
It's
school or
primary
if it
school
was.
or yeah, and we've stayed in touch. We've been friends. She's part of my network, one of my dear friends that I really, really appreciate. I respect you so much. I salute
Oh,
you, and I
thank you.
always learn new things, and I love talking to you. As much as you're far
Awesome.
away, I know if I text, she's going to respond when
Of
she gets up
course.
or after work,
Yes.
and I really, really appreciate. I appreciate having a community like that, support unit. Yeah, and thank you so much. I'm so excited about this. I hope a lot of people actually get to learn your story, and they'll be inspired as I am. And yeah, so any parting words for young people, our listeners, anything?
I'm actually sad that it's finishing because I'm like, oh, this was so good. I wish we could go on and on and on.
I
But
know, I know.
but every good thing comes to an end, hey. So I think parting words for young people out there from me would be, don't be afraid of trying out new things, right? Sometimes you will get opportunities that are not really what you imagined or what you thought. When I look back at my career, all of the different roles that I have mentioned that I've done, like to when it was happening, it wasn't something that I planned or that I, sat down and thought, okay, I'm going to be doing A, B, C, D, E, F, and then,
Mm-hmm.
but it just happened organically. And it happened because I said yes to the opportunity. And it's only when the opportunity I had now been done the opportunity and I'd moved on. And I look back and I think, oh my God, I learned quite a lot in that. Um, but I learned a lot. So that's one thing I would say, say yes to opportunities. The second thing that I would say is that have a learning mindset. I've just been reading a book titled Mindset by Carol S. Dweck, and it talks about two different types of people. One with a fixed mindset, and the other with a learning mindset. And so it's important for us to have that mindset of knowing that it's possible for you to improve. You don't have to stay the same. There's no one person who's just good at something and that's it. You
Mm-hmm.
can improve, you can learn, you can grow. So have that mindset in each and everything that you do. If you're bad at it in the beginning, that's all right. You can learn again. You can keep improving and learning, but don't give up just because you weren't good at it at the first try. So have a learning mindset. And in a similar vein, have a mindset of continuous improvement. The company that I work for currently is really, really big on continuous improvement. Okay, we've always done it this way, but can we do it better? How can we improve this?
Mm-hmm.
How can we make it safer? How can we do it faster? How can we do it cheaper? So I think that's something that we can apply in our own lives as well. That, okay, I've always done it this way, but can I do it better? I've always been this person, but can I improve? Can I become better? So that's the second thing that I would say. The third thing that I would say is that I think you touched on it as well, Nyasha, that surround yourself with a community of like-minded people who are going somewhere. Um, because there's a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. So on the days that you really think that, you know what, I can't do it, I don't think this is me, I just want to give up. If you've got people that are surrounding you that are like-minded, that are going in the same direction as you are, they can, encourage you and say, no, 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 don't be silly, you can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really, really important. And then the final thing that I would say to young people, especially, is that, you know what, start now, right? Start now. Don't say, oh, I'm only 10 years old. I don't know how young your audience is. Don't say, don't say I'm only 10 years old. I'll wait until I'm like in university to start growing and learning about my career or my area of interest, right? I would
Mm-hmm.
implore you to go and look at the job advertisements, right, of the area that you want to be in. There will be definitely will be soft skills of what is required of the person. So for as an example, if you want to become a lawyer, they'll probably say that, oh, we want somebody who's got great communication skills, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
start developing great communication skills from 10 years old. At that age, be intentional. Join clubs that require you to talk. Take on leadership opportunities if you can put your hand up for them. I know that some schools, the teachers choose or whatever, but wherever you can take on leadership opportunities or opportunities to speak, opportunities to help others where you would be required to talk, take them on so that you can improve your soft skills, whatever it is, skill it is that is required, that is soft on the career of choice. So those are some of the things that I would encourage young people to do. And with the with technology at the moment, right, being as
Mm-hmm.
it's so accessible. I know, okay, maybe in some regions it might not be so accessible, but if you can access technology, things like WhatsApp AI, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
use it to your advantage. Say, for instance, I don't know, you want to become a programmer or something like that, or a data scientist, right? Go on WhatsApp AI and ask it, I want to be a data scientist when I grow up. I'm 10 years old. Can you give me a plan to work on that will enable me to start developing skills that are required for a data scientist? And it will give me, reading information or whatever. And it will give you information, clubs that
Mm-hmm.
might be near you that you could join, stuff like that. So take advantage of tech and AI and learn as much as you can. You're not too young to start. You can start now. And yeah, I won't talk any further. I think I'll keep talking. But those are
Thank you
my part
so
ones.
much. Oh,
No
that's awesome.
problem.
Thank you so much. And above all, my third take is burn the boats.
Burn
For
the
me,
boats,
that's
yes.
I'm gonna burn the boats. I'm in
Burn the
this.
boats.
I have no other choice. I'm on the island. There are no
Yeah,
boats. I'll deal with
yeah.
it.
Yes, you burn the boats.
Rumbi, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. It was wonderful having this conversation with you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was such a
Oh,
wonderful time.
thank you.